In magnificent style, Pickett's Charge Deluxe Edition. This is a solitaire game set in the American Civil War. You will control Confederate forces and you will lead Pickett's Charge. You will lead this doom attack on that fateful day at Gettysburg. And so, as you can expect, as it happened historically, your forces will be severely mowed down as they try to advance against a well-placed line of Union defenders, and those survivors, not many of them, they will make it there. They'll try to dislodge the Union forces from their initial position. Deluxe Edition because the game came out a couple of years ago for Victory Point games. It was one of those games that came in a bag, and like most Victory Point games, they're very hard to find these days, and so I'm happy that now we're seeing some of them republished by Worthington Games in deluxe boxed editions. I remember liking the game originally, but I haven't played in a long time, and the rulebook here says that in any case, even if I played the original game, I should not assume that I know this one, that a number of changes have been made, so I decided not to assume. I did not look at the old copy that I have of the game. I did not even watch the video that I made for the game back in the day, so I just approach this game with fresh eyes. And so I'm gonna tell you about this game, and I'm not gonna make comparison about the original game that, again, I don't remember very well. Not enough to make an informed comparison. I don't feel like making an informed comparison with this game is different anyways. So comes with a nice mounted board divided into 9 areas. As you see here, they're numbered because of different effects. They may target one area or another. Then the board is also divided into 3 sections, the left, the center, and the right of the Confederate forces. Each section is divided into columns. Each Confederate unit has a specific column and is represented by a large cardboard piece here, say Davis, and Davis has his own column here, and that game piece will stay on that column, will only move forward or backward, not laterally. However, you may be able, because of game effects, to transfer strength points, strength values. Each Confederate unit will have a token such as this one that will indicate the strength. When the unit takes hits because of game effects, then you simply reduce that number, and you use these tokens here to make change if you have to. So, for example, here I got a 6 if I wasn't able to find a 6 right away. Similar tokens, but with a blue background, will go there on top of the board to represent Union forces. Let's see if we can put one up there. And those are the Union forces there. They're upside down, but they don't. They're upside down now, but they don't have to be. You know, when you're playing the game and you're less sloppy than me. Also, you're not sitting behind the camera, and so you're not afraid of bumping down the camera by putting things there. So, your job, should you accept the mission, is to get all the way up there, to be shot at for a long time, to enter, actually the unit should go there, my mistake, to enter the space with those units, to resolve combat, and hopefully to push them back to that area, or it may also happen that you're pushed back here. Other things about the map, some spaces count as obstacle spaces. They are particularly difficult to enter, and you see them there aligned by this line here. Also right in front of the Union positions, that also you have a line that indicates an obstacle, a difficult space to enter. You got Bliss Farm, aptly named because it offers some protection from the constant fire that is coming from the enemy forces. During setup, you will place some of these markers on Union forces. You draw them randomly. As you can see on the back, some indicate a number of hits, but some also indicate a miss. And you place them face down, so you don't know exactly what's on the other side. It represents the fact that before the charge, you bombarded the Union positions, and you probably did some damage, but you do not know exactly where and how much. And so actually you'll get to flip those damage tokens later when you're actually close enough to see the result of the bombardment, and so that may reduce the value of the Union positions. So your job again is to advance. Each unit that you have here, each unit, as we said, has a large marker indicating the unit itself, has a numerical marker indicating how many strength points the unit has. And again, as I said, there may be game effects that allow you to transfer points from one to the other, like so. Also, each unit has a rally marker. When you move, usually the rally marker stays behind. This is a way of creating a push your luck situation, because the further you advance and the more distance there is between you and your rally marker, the more damaging certain game effects may be. So you could ideally just advance a little bit, and then when you voluntarily stop your advance, you move your rally marker there. If you take the action of reforming your lines, then the rally marker is there. And if you have a game effect that, say, gives you a number of hits equal to the distance between your rally marker and your unit, that's okay, that's 0 right now. Here, not so much. Not so much. So this is a key mechanic in the game. The more you push without reforming your lines, the further you are from your rally marker, the more dangerous things become and the more catastrophic certain game effects will be. So at the beginning of the game, as we said, you bombard the Union positions, but you don't really know what the heck that did, if anything. Then you have each turn, and you have a really good player aid situation here on the side of the board. Pretty much you have a good summary of the entire rule book, and that's very, very valuable. At the beginning of each turn, with the exception of the first, you will draw cards on this deck. These are event cards. When you draw a card for yourself, you look at the top, at the Confederate section, and that's good stuff for you. But at the beginning of each turn, you will draw cards and look at the bottom section, which is good for the Union. So you start a turn by resolving a number of Union effects, and that's bad. Next, you get to assign divisional markers to your units. You have these 3 markers that represent divisional commanders: Pickett, Pettigrew, and Trimble, and you can assign them to units of that group. Say, for example, Pickett can support Armistead or can support Garnett, but cannot support other units. And you put them at the beginning of the turn. You simply transfer them to one of the units under their command. The board has indications to remind you which general, which commander can go with which group, and they can be spent to give you different advantages, such as rolling dice. I think that's by far the advantage they use the most. Oh, by the way, right there you have a reminder of what the generals can do. So if you want to pause the video and read more in detail, you got it there. After you assign the divisional commanders, and so you decide who is going to get those advantage, it's time to activate your units. You choose a unit that has not activated yet, and say, suppose the unit is there. Yeah, suppose the unit is there. That works. And you place this token on it, indicating that it is the advancing unit, that is the active unit for now. Then, when you try to move it, and you have to try to move each unit at least once per turn, it's time to roll dice on the movement table. You roll 2 dice, a white and a red one, and you cross-reference the result. White 6 and red 4 gives me a come on boys result. And simply then I read down here what it says and what it does. I would say again, the game is almost self-explanatory. because so much happens during the movement phase, and during the movement phase you roll those 2 dice, you obtain a result, and you implement the results indicated here. So the common voice allows you to move a unit by 1 space and may enter an obstacle, hooray, or draw a gray card, but only if you did not enter an obstacle. Advance, the unit moves 1 space, but not an obstacle, so you just stay there and you're stuck and you're trying to figure out how to walk through that obstacle. Light fire, you don't advance, the unit takes a hit, and so on and so forth. You can pause and read, but this is the general idea. And unless the result forces you to end your turn, you can choose to roll again, or you can choose to stop. Again, if you choose to stop, remember you can move your rally marker up to where you are. If you keep going, well, you keep going until you stop, or until something bad happens, until a result forces you to stop. For example, suppose that the heavy fire result, if you are not shaken, you take hits equal to half the distance to your rally point, then you flip the advancing brigade's marker to its shaken side, and you draw a blue card. Remember, that's bad. But if you have the heavy fire result when your advancing brigade is already shaken, then you move the unit back to the rally point marker and the activation ends. You're forced to end the activation. And you draw a card. So pretty much that's the general idea, really. Rolling on this table and implementing the results and deciding when to stop and when to keep rolling, and deciding when to use your commander's abilities. That's pretty much, I would say, 80% of the game. Also, you also have 2 general long street markers that allow you to use the same effects as the divisional commanders. But that's still the general idea. Rolling on the table, re-rolling, choosing whether you want to keep going or stop. That really is the heart of the game. At some point, you may be lucky enough that you do enter a space with those Union forces represented by those numerical markers there, in which case then you resolve close combat. Basically, it's bucket of dice kind of situation, which is you get a number of dice based on how strong your unit is at that point. Remember, strength markers there, plus or minus modifiers. The Union gets a number of dice equal based on their force, plus or minus modifiers, and then you roll. Certain results will inflict hits on the opponent and morale losses. Certain results will only inflict morale losses, and certain results will do absolutely nothing. You apply physical losses and then decide that inflicted most morale losses on the opponent pushes the opponent out of the position. If it's you that managed to inflict more morale losses, then you push them in the rearguard position. If it's them that have the most morale losses inflicted on you, then you are moved back. You continue like this, suffering and being shot at, and occasionally launching close combat for 5 painful turns, but in the right way, given the historical situation and the theme represented here. You play for 5 turns, and then you assess the situation, and you determine your level of victory or defeat based on how well or poorly you did in your, frankly, hopeless endeavor. It's truly remarkable how well this game captures its topic, which is a thing that is very hard to render into a game that is worth playing, because the situation is so hopeless and one-sided. And yet, within the script, in which you will experience pain and despair the entire game, it really works. Because I believe that the game effects and the cards and the movement table, they are really punishing, which is appropriate to the theme, but also they give you a little bit of hope, and that little hope is very powerful, and maybe it's false hope, but it's enough to keep you going. If the game was just even slightly more punishing, then you would just give up at the end of the first turn. But with some of your units, you do terribly. Some of the units, you do more terribly, but one brigade makes a little bit of a headway. Use a game effect that allows that unit to walk together, kind of like zoom, to attach magnetically to another unit, and so you can move in a line. Add a little bit of hope, and then everything comes crashing down on those brigades. But somebody else now is tippy-toeing towards those Union hills and Union positions. Oh yeah, but they're the ones that are in the worst position on the board. They are in a corner where the Union soldiers have all sorts of bonuses, and there's a stone wall. They may as well have mines and tactical nukes, because the final effect is going to be exactly the same for you. You're going to be annihilated. It's a game that inflicts major pain on the player while also giving you a sense of possibly false hope that keeps you going and makes the game exciting, because you think if you just get that die roll right, you feel close enough to not be completely destroyed. You feel close enough that you keep going. So it's very unique. Again, the decisions that you make are not so many, but they feel relevant. There's so much randomness, so much chaos, so much is out of your control. Again, at its core is a push-or-luck game with a lot of unique effects and different historical factors around it. But it does create a strong narrative. It does create a strong sense of theme and history. I think I could easily use it in a classroom to exemplify certain elements of the American Civil War, what a terrible tactical blunder looks like, and so on and so forth. It has that historical flavor that really works. But again, in terms of gameplay, the design takes a situation that feels almost unplayable and turns it into a game that is worth playing. And generally speaking, to me, a game that is worth playing is one that presents you with interesting decisions, and this game does precisely so. There's a lot of chaos, a lot of randomness, but I'm given the option of choosing how much I'm going to push your luck, where I'm going to spend my commander tokens, and when I assign them, then I can also choose how to spend them. I can choose the order in which I activate my units, in the hope sometimes of getting some results that will give me the line movement that will maybe huge. But everything comes at a cost. Everything feels like a pact with the devil, because the more you push, the further behind you leave your rally marker, the more open you are to catastrophic results. So everything is painful, but everything feels fair, because the conditions, the pros and cons, there's no small print. It's absolutely clear after you read the rule book what are the consequences of pushing your luck. So it's a sadistic game, but 100% fair. So in magnificent style, Pickett's Charge Deluxe Edition. First, the Deluxe Edition is really deluxe-full. It really looks good. The components are all high quality, very, very nice. The rulebook makes it very easy to learn the game. And basically, I relearned it because I didn't remember the fine points. I remember moving, rally markers were important, but I relearned it from scratch. I didn't have any problem with that. It's nice to have a mounted board. The cards are high quality. No problem with the deluxeified element of this edition. As for the game itself, is a game that maybe will not appeal for everybody, but because of the unique theme, because of the grueling element, because of the massive pain that you take, because it's a game that is a lot more about getting shot at than attacking. But still, when you take all these things into account, it's a unique game that captures its theme well, and offers the player a lot of interesting decisions. It is also a game that would not be too complicated for a beginner war gamer. This can be seen as an introductory war game, no doubt. So, in magnificent style, Pickett's Charge. Very unique, very fun for players that love history and pain.